This is another philosopher. And one of the greatest regrets I have about reading the Silmarillion was that the sons of Huor and Hurin, Turin and Tuor, never actually met. Having crossed paths only once while Turin was searching for the elf maiden Findulas while fleeing the sack of Nargothrond, and Tuor, along with his elf companion, were searching for the entrance to Gondolin, it begs the question, what would have happened if they actually met? And actually, one of my readers who had listened to some of my videos on the House of Hador also asked me this question as well. So now I'm going to explore this potential possibility. I imagine that when Tuor and Voramwe hear Turin calling out Findulas' name, that they basically call out to him to get his attention. That the two cousins, still unaware of their relation, introduce themselves, but Turin is clearly distraught, like he's paranoid and running from something, thinking that this one elf woman was going to be the key to his salvation. Tuor and Voramwe are still in a calm state of mind, unlike Turin, and, if not equally but more quietly determined, to reach Gondolin. So I see them also asking Turin, where did he hear this information from? And Turin eventually reveals that what happened at Nargothrond, and that this information was given to him from Glaurung as a last-ditch attempt to basically save him from the curse of Morgoth. So, upon hearing that it was the dragon who told him this, the two are going to try to explain to Turin why the hell he's playing such faith in what the enemy is telling him. That surely if Glaurung had not killed him right there and then, which he could have easily, that there was some other plan at work behind it. Why was Turin trusting him? Now, to Turin's credit, his greatest weakness throughout his life was his sense of isolation. He's felt that since he was a boy living in Dorloman, and despite connections he does make throughout his life, for one reason or another, they all fall away. So he only has himself and the fears and tumult of his ongoing emotional state to basically keep him company and to try and deduce what the right thing for him to do is in all his various ventures. These two strangers would be the first voices of reason that Turin's heard since the Battle of Nargothrond. So let's just say that they do somehow convince Turin that he's been lied to this whole time and convince him to join them on their quest to Gondolin, perhaps to save him from the curse and give him a better, clear sense of mind that does not involve someone trying to trick him. Just like in the main timeline, they all eventually discover Gondolin, and this is when the swerve starts to occur. Now, if this hadn't come up during the journey to Gondolin, it definitely would have come up when Turgon first lays eyes on the sons of the two mortals that he once considered like family, and would thus reveal to Turin and Tuor that they're actually cousins and that their fathers had been there once before. I mean, for God's sakes, it's their sons. Someone should have noticed something by this point that who they look like. The next swerve would be that since Gondolin was protected by the great eagles and the power of Ummo, that Turin may have finally gained that sense of clarity that he was in desperate need of, at last understanding, if he hadn't already, that Morgoth was indeed trying to set a trap for him and set things in motion that would lead to his ultimate painful demise. And if this happened, this ultimately would not only alter his fate, but also his sister's as well, Ninio. The cousins would be bound to stay in Gondolin just like in canon, and this is where there might be issues. Due to their parentage and natural abilities and charisma, they both would probably get high positions in the Gondolidrum. But I think Turin, being Turin, would also join the most warlike of them because of his desire to fight in open battle. It's like I had said during the House of Hador videos on Hurin and Huor, that while the two of them were kind of alike, Huor, I think, also had a better sense of calmness of mind than his brother did. And I think this would have transferred over to their sons as well. Now, the Battle of Gondolin does eventually happen. And it's at this point that the sons of Hurin and Huor would make an epic and even greater name for themselves than they do individually in the main timeline. It would be epic. Seeing them fight back to back, it would be so vindicating, given everything that has happened to their family at this point. I would have loved to have seen this. But I also think that at this point, Turin, being the more aggressive of the two, might end up being killed during the battle. But let's say he does survive with the others and joins the conclave at the coast of Balar with the survivors from Doriath. I think Turin might start to have reoccurrences of his PTSD regarding Morgoth trying to pursue him, now that the paradise that had given him so much clarity was now gone. Moreover, given the ruckus that these two men would be causing, Morgoth would definitely have heard that the black sword that was at the fall of Nargothrond was now seen in Gondolin, thus bringing the heat down on that people much more, with Morgoth still hell-bent on making the children of Hurin suffer for the sins of their father. So, the settlement might be attacked by Morgoth's forces instead of ignored. Or, if Turin was keenly aware of this, he may have chosen to leave the community to draw away Morgoth's attention. And if this happened, this honestly could lead to any number of possibilities. Maybe finding his way to Brethil finally, like he does in the main timeline, and still coming across Diniel, but perhaps, given his time away, she's now married off, and which could cause more chaos there. Who's to say? But otherwise, that's kind of how I see what would happen if Turin and Tuor had actually met. Tuor's life would have pretty much remained the same as canon, but it would be Turin's life that would be drastically different. Basically, him getting that chance that he never really got in the main timeline, where some divine intervention, as it were, finally gives him peace of mind and clarity that he's been in desperate need of since he was a kid. But let me know your own thoughts below, and I want to thank the person who actually inspired this idea. This is the Miller Philosopher. Have a good day.